It's like
go, Tom.
Because we haven't got a planned economy.
Well, that is the major problem, Chris. Yes, like the BT's private monopoly is very fucking inefficient. All right, we are up and running, everybody. Hello and welcome of the Class Consciousness Project live stream. I am your host, Alex, and we will be looking at a couple of issues tonight with the following comrades from the project, some of whom you will have seen before. So I'm here tonight with Chris. Say hello to the good audience, Chris.
Hello, evening everyone.
And also here with Comrade Ian. Say hello to the viewers at home.
Greetings, everyone.
Thanks very much. And here with Comrade Rick as well. Rick, greet the chat so far.
All right, how are we?
Well, we are apparently on the verge of a new revolution, but we'll come to that in just a moment. I've got the chat up on the screen. We've got Will Johnson, Paul McCord, Jerry, greetings to you. We've got Josh, but is it the right Josh? In the chat, we've got Comrade Naylor, we've got Pittsburgh Dude 87, and we got Zaytuni, and we got Colchester Ian with us as well. Good to see you all here so far. Now, I don't know if you're all aware, but Britain is now drenched in hope. The hope has been showered upon us by the return of the leader of the lost tribe of true socialism, which is, of course, Saint Jeremy Corbyn of Islington, is returning. And his prophet on earth, Zara Sultana, has announced her resignation from the Labour Party yesterday. And I will read to you from the Holy Works, good listeners and comrades, and then we will launch into our analysis of this. So Zara Sultana's resignation letter reads as follows: today after party, Jeremy Corbyn and I will co-lead the founding of a new party with other independent MPs, campaigners and activists across the country. Westminster is broken, but the real crisis is deeper. Just 50 families now own more wealth than half the UK population. Poverty is growing, inequality is obscene, and the two-party system offers nothing but managed decline and broken promises. A year ago, I was suspended by the Labour Party for voting to abolish the two-child benefit cap and lift 400,000 children out of poverty. I'd do it again. I voted against scrapping winter fuel payments for pensioners. I'd do it again. Now the government wants to make disabled people suffer. They just can't decide how much. Meanwhile, a billionaire-backed grifter is leading the polls because Labour has completely failed to improve people's lives. And across the political establishment, from Farage to Starmer, they smear people of conscience trying to stop a genocide in Gaza as terrorists. But the truth is clear. This government is an active participant in genocide, and the British people oppose it. We are not going to take this anymore. Ooh, fighting words. We are not an island of strangers. We're an island that's suffering. We need homes and lives we can actually afford, not rip off bills we pay every month to a tiny elite bathing in cash. I didn't know we were being run by Scrooge McDuck. We need our money spent on public services, not forever wars. In 2029, the choice will be stark: socialism or barbarism. Billionaires already have free parties fighting for them. It's time for the rest of us. Had bold fighting words there from the great leader of British socialism, from an all expenses paid house in Coventry. So we'll go first to Chris. Are you inspired, Chris?
By what Zara Sultana said.
Well, the launch of a new, or the beginnings of a new party led by her and Jeremy Corbyn. Are you inspired? Do you see this as the coming of the dawn of socialism?
No.
Easy job. Next question.
Because, well, just a couple of things. This is what, based on what Sultana said. She talked about the two-party system, and we've actually really just got one party, and creating a new social democratic party is just going to become part of the same big party, because our system isn't run on true democracy. It's run by the establishment, and parliamentary democracy will always, at the best, it'll bring in slight changes that help the working class. And she's proved that by saying she voted against things which have happened anyway. So her vote had no power, and the British public's vote will have no power, even if their party get in. So I'm not inspired at all, because this is not in the least way revolutionary. It's just going to continue the system we've had for centuries.
Yeah. All good points there, Chris. Well, we have got comments from people who are like in favour of this in the chat, so we'll come to that after we've had the initial contributions from Comrades. So, Rick, I'll go to you next for your initial reaction. Are you going out to buy a Jeremy Corbyn hat and T-shirt?
Are they available? Wow. Do you know what I might do?
I'm sure. Yeah. Online merch is going to be a big thing with this.
It's like there's a lot of these small leftist groups that seem to get merch before they get a manifesto, isn't it? You know what I mean? But just...
Yeah, you wonder where they get the money from.
I know, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's fantastic. It's almost like they were created to corral the workers, to make sure that they're still about, just for when somebody left of Labour returns. Left of Starmer, should I say? Because as soon as somebody left of Starmer comes in, if Angela Rayner, even though she's equally as reactionary, they will all flock back thinking this is the new dawn. But what I look forward to is the dismay that people feel after this, because once again, it will make more and more people realise that these establishment leftists, they're not the answer. They're not going to change anything. They're part of the system, as Chris just said. She mentioned in her thing there, Westminster is broken. It's not broken. It's acting as it should do. You know, the parliamentary system was created by the bourgeois so they could rule over us. So they had a say within the governance of Britain. So it's not broken. It's not broken at all. And she says, I've been there for 14 years. I voted this, I voted that. But you've been bringing people in to support the Labour Party in those whole 14 years. And knowing your votes will fall, knowing that you and whatever silly little cloth heads are still available as so-called leftists within the Labour Party will vote for you, but you will have a minority. You essentially, you are taking the imperialist pound, as we mentioned in one of our tweets, and continuing to support them. The Labour Party supported a genocide for the length of time since the 7th of October and beyond. The Labour Party were there for the creation of NATO. They were a big part of that. The Labour Party is a racist imperialist party. So for 14 years, she has supported that. And now she leaves. Now she can follow on from St. Jeremy's new venture, which it's not going to do anything. It's social democracy. You know, it's the active wing of fascism. It will not create anything new. It will only further dismay the workers, and that's what I look forward to, because I don't want anybody to no, I do want people to start feeling bad, because I want them to realise that this is not the way forward. We need to realise that parliamentarism these mild reforms will not do anything for us.
No, exactly. Okay, we've got more comments coming in, so I'll throw to Ian for your analysis of this deeply uninspiring event.
Well, I'm absolutely over the moon and excited. Well, no, I'm not actually. I'm not. It's a joke, isn't it? I mean, you were talking about the T-shirts. I said, I'm just thinking, have they got any mugs? Oh, sorry, they're the ones who are going to be joining, aren't they? But yeah, it just made me think back to the general election, and I picked up the form in the polling station, and it had it had 5 imperialist parties, 5 shades of shitlib, and now I've got the exciting thought that there'll be a 6th shade of shitlib, another imperialist party to just put a big cross through. I mean, it's laughable, isn't it? And Corbyn himself, it reveals what he's like. I mean, if he was serious about this, he'd have done it in 2020 when he still had his momentum followers. And he's left it because he was hoping that he'd get forgiven by Starmer and be invited back into the Labour Party. But he wasn't. But I tell you what was the most cringe of all. Yesterday, when I found out about it, I went looking at the media, social media, and on the news, and I went on the BBC website, and it had a quote from, the ultimate grifter of the left, MacDonald, and he said, "Hang on, I'll have to look." He goes, "I'm dreadfully sorry to see Zara lose Zara from the Labour Party," which says something, because Zara and him and a couple of others are suspended, aren't they? They're not part of the Parliamentary Labour Party, and it just shows he's got no intention of risking his safe little seat. And a small party, he's gonna carry on, kneeling down in front of Sir Keir and saying, "Please, let me back in. I don't want to be thrown to the wilderness and have no job." Yeah. I can't see it being a great success. I mean, it could have one small positive. I mean, the Labour Party are going to get absolutely snotted at the next election, and if they lose, 10, 15, 20% of their voters to this new Arise lark, then they'll go down even further, which would be funny. But to be fair, it doesn't give the working class in Britain any hope at all. None.
No, and fundamentally, they're trying to recreate something which is dead, which is that this is all nostalgia for the social democratic reform period of 1945 to 51. That's all this is, and there's been no real substantive reform in a direction of being pro-working class in any substantial way. Since that period of 45 to 51. Everything since then has been remorselessly taking it back. And all of the parties in Britain who keep trying to find a way back to that get rumbled by the working class really quickly, because there is no way back. Like the system's too rotten and degenerated to be reformed. You try and reform this system, you will get absolutely nowhere. But I think that the development of this is significant in the sense that it's becoming harder and harder to be I think what it was Lenin's phrase, the permanently outvoted minority in the Labour Party, because people hate the Labour Party. So if you want to be like a left winger in permanent, well remunerated opposition, it's actually getting to the point where you stand a better chance of doing that outside the Labour Party than in it, because the Labour Party is so hated now. And it was hated when Corbyn was leader as well. I've told the story before about going around when I was a Labour Party member, knocking on doors in places like Bolton and Bury, where you tell people to vote Labour, where Labour's run the councils in those areas for decades, like in some cases since World War II, and the area's just been dragged down and down and down. And everyone there, every worker knows that it's the Labour Party that's ultimately responsible for this. So then you turn up saying, but Jeremy Corbyn's going to change everything. It's like, well, no, and like millions of workers never believed that. So the excitement over this is going to be isolated to some people who are in the long-term Jeremy Corbyn fan club. And that's about it. I don't think it's going to reach the bulk of the working class at all. But, comrades, we have disagreement in the chat. So does anybody fancy engaging in some controversy? Because we've got a comment here from Zai Tooney in the chat, who says, "I will likely join the Zara and Corbyn party, not out of ideological alignment, but to build class consciousness within the grassroots of said party. I see it developing into something like the Red Party. I have no illusions about social democracy's futility, but I also see the reactionary threat. Reform UK wants to increase UK complicity in the Gaza genocide." So Zay Tooney sees the benefits of this. Does anybody want to reply to our friend's I would say, mistaken analysis of the situation. Rick, you got your hand
I'll
up.
go ahead, mate. Did he say reform wanted to increase our complicity? How?
Yes.
How can we increase our complicity? We are refueling their planes from Cyprus, from one of the occupied countries with one of our military bases. The Zionist project was essentially created in Israel by Britain. The USA took over it, after the Suez crisis, essentially. But we are still a major player within it, and it doesn't matter who. You could bring in flipping the Green Party or any of these silly little capitalist parties who are no different to one another. They say a few different things and have a different rosette, but we will not change what we are doing. What we say, we're the working class. What the British government, what the ruling class of Britain, what the bourgeoisie are doing to these countries, not only Gaza, across the world, that won't change by reform getting in, because they are simply just another organism used to trick the workers. The working class are they're being controlled by these ideals. Reform, they've noticed a malaise within the workers, and they've jumped upon it with the likes of reform. Labour Party is saying the same bloody shit. Essentially, you will not joining this to create class consciousness. How are you going to do that? Because you're pulling them back into the same system they need to get away from.
Yeah, well said, Rick. Chris?
Yeah. Well, I agree with what Rick said about joining any kind of social democratic party is not going to raise class consciousness. It's just going to keep people enslaved to the system that is keeping us all down. And I just wanted to mention as well that Reform have also split, and they have started a party called Advance UK. I don't know much about them, because when I typed that into the internet, it came up with a disability care system, which already exists. So,
Well, right. Well, write your own jokes about the House of Lords. There,
a bit of irony there, isn't there?
There is, but also to Zaituni, the offence against Iran has been supported by our current government. But the RAF have sent planes over to that area. They haven't actually attacked anything, but they've got a presence there. So even if Reform are supporting it, our Labour government, is actually doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sound point, Chris. Ian, did you want to come respond to the pro Corbyn comment there?
Yes, I mean, class consciousness. We're talking about working class consciousness. We got to remember that the Labour Party, and this Labour Party Mark II, which is what it really is going to be, the Labour Party has never been interested in the working class, or at least they're only interested in the aristocracy of Labour, the higher status working class people, and the petty bourgeoisie. And there's no way that Corbyn's rabble is going to be any better. So they're not going to be appealing. They're not even going to be on the same wavelength as us in the working class. It's not realistic. I don't want to shatter people's illusions, but if they just go and read Robert Clough's book, Labour, a party fit for imperialism, and he'll put you straight on all this. The Labour Party has never been for the working class. It's never been socialist. It's had socialists in it who come along they make a nice little niche for themselves and earn a good living. But no, if you want to raise class consciousness and join a party, join a proper anti-imperialist party like the CPG-BML, because there isn't any other party in Britain.
There we go. And thanks, Ian. I would say that in terms of like our friend in the comments, and I think we should let's keep it friendly here. Says that he wants to advance class consciousness. Okay, when has the Labour Party actually advance the consciousness of the working class. Because, like, as Ian and the other comrades have said, like, the Labour Party's never been about actually fighting for socialism. Because fighting for socialism means that we're fighting for our class to become the ruling class. Because that's the only way we're actually going to get it. And the Labour Party's method from day one, so this has never changed, has been that they want to give periodically a few crumbs from the table, off the rich man's table, to the working class. And they want the working class to say, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We will vote Labour for it in perpetuity. Because they see themselves as the people whose job it is to manage the working class and to make sure class conflict doesn't get outside of acceptable boundaries. That's the Labour Party's job. And it's the trade union leaders' job as well, and always has been. And so the Labour Party was formed by trade union leaders, like groups of middle class reformers, like the various different like think tanks of the time, like the Fabian Society, and like the other socialist groups and the trade union bureaucracy all coming together to manage the class struggle, to keep it contained on the parliamentary road. So it's never been about raising the consciousness of the working class, because if the working class's consciousness advances, then the working class will start to challenge the authority of the ruling class. And the Labour Party's leaders have never wanted that. And that includes Jeremy Corbyn, because he didn't want that either. And neither does Zara Sultana. Zara Sultana wants to be a slightly more left-wing version of what's there at the moment, handing reforms to us and saying, isn't that good? Aren't you grateful to us? And if we say, no, fuck off, we want more than that, they'll probably say, well, you're a ghastly bunch of reactionaries who don't wash. Go away. Because they're not fundamentally interested in changing the system. At most, they just want to like shave the edges off it, basically. And we're not interested in that. And the system's too far gone for that. Chris?
I was going to respond to you and Zaitani again. Zaitani's just said he was radicalised in the day of Jeremy Corbyn, and it was a catalyst to becoming a Marxist-Leninist. And I think he needs to understand, and I'm not having a go at you here, Zaitani, that, like Alex has just said, you can't reform capitalism. You can't use a democratic party. And something, I myself joined the Labour Party when Jeremy Corbyn became the leader, because I thought he offered hope. And over the few years after that, I learned a lot more, like yourself, about politics and about economics. And one of the things I remember Jeremy Corbyn going on about, and this has always been a theme in the Labour Party, is social advancement. So like you can work your way out of being working class, when the fact is, if you are a socialist, you don't work your way out of being working class. You're always working class. And that needs to always be a good thing, because it always benefits society. And the entire of society needs to benefit everyone within it. That's what being working class means. So you don't have to become educated to become a doctor to get yourself out of poverty. You can be a bin man. Your son can be a bin man. Your grandson can be a bin man. And that shouldn't make you the bottom of society. You don't need to go to university to get yourself out of that situation. We need actual socialism, so that a bin man who keeps our streets clean is just as worthy as a doctor who keeps us from getting sick or cures us when I was sick.
Yeah. I mean, what you're talking... Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was just going to say one more thing, which is slightly off topic. Ian Byrne, who is the MP for West Derby, I think, in Liverpool, he said today that he wasn't going to join Jeremy Corbyn's movement. and this is even worse than what Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana are trying to do. He said, "I'm happy to be a socialist within the Labour Party," which is just completely ridiculous. It's such an outdated thing to think that you can change the Labour Party from within and make it a socialist party, or even thinking that you can leave the party and somehow bring socialism about with an alternative party. And this Ian Byrne, he's got a lot of popularity around Merseyside because he's pushing for the Hillsborough law, which is going to make public figures not be allowed to lie at inquests. And he's not questioning the system that thinks that it was all right in the first place for public officials to lie at inquests. Why can anyone think that was ever all right? That's the reason we can't be democratic or parliamentary democratic, because the country is run by institutionalized liars.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Byrne will probably make a good deal of money as the only socialist left in the Labour Party, because that's a role that they're happy for people to have. They've always been happy to have again, the permanently outvoted minority. Bear in mind, Jeremy Corbyn stayed in the Labour Party and told people to vote Labour after the Iraq War. After that war, which destroyed a country, destabilized a region, caused millions of refugees to flee out of Iraq, killed hundreds of thousands. Jeremy Corbyn was going around saying vote Labour in 2005 and 2010 and onwards. And that is that should make us all ask questions about, well, what are his priorities? Because if he led the Stop the War coalition back then, saying that the war was illegal, immoral, and all that. So why stay in the party that helped launch it? Except for the fact that you've got a nice, cozy little position there, and you want to protect it, which is what it comes down to. A lot of these chances. We got more comments coming in from Comrade Paul McCord, who asks, "Whatever happened to the Northern Independence Party? Anybody seen it recently?" For those who are unfamiliar with it, it was started by some clown of a university lecturer who was born in Yorkshire but lives in Brighton. So I'm not sure under his plans whether Brighton's going to be included in the North or what. But I don't know anybody know what happened to the NIP?
I think they got too busy making T-shirts, didn't they? That was one of those parties that created the merchandise before the manifesto. What was the other one that had the very colourful slogans? And then they said that they asked them, how many members did you have? We had 100,000. It's like, no, that's your Twitter account, mate. Began with an E, can't remember them. But NIP was just ridiculous. That was a cash grab. That was nothing to do with politics, that.
According to another comment from Zaytuni in the chat, the guy who founded it, I remember his name now, Philip Proudfoot, founded the party, then left it and joined the Greens. Even better. So the party's own founder defected to the Green Party. That's like defecting to South Korea these days. My God. More comments from the floor. Pittsburgh Dude 87 says, "My Bernie Sanders T-shirt makes a great rag now." Good point. Free Palestine says, "There's no parliamentary road to socialism." Paul McCord says, "McDonnell and Abbott have stated they won't be leaving Labour." Yeah, John McDonnell will have to be carried out of the Labour Party in a coffin and buried in a rosette-shaped grave, because he's going to cling on to that seat in Hayes and Harlington till grim death.
It messed with the contracts that he's involved
also,
in.
Paul McCord.
I said it would mess with the contracts that he's involved in that keep him well funded. The man that comes down a drain pipe in the Fringe meeting in Liverpool.
Yes. Paul McCord also asked, what do we reckon to Galloway's reaction to the new party? And of course, Mr. Galloway's reaction was not entirely favourable. I'm just going to try and find it now. For those of you who are unfamiliar, many of us used to be in Mr. Galloway's party and are no longer. For more on that, we may in future divulge more details as to why we left. It still blocks me. That's nice. But I'm just going to try and find his comment on it. Yes, but I am still blocked by Mr. Galloway. I don't even know why. Right. Can't find it, so I'll just read this out from someone screen grabbed it earlier. The Workers' Party, that's his vehicle, note that Jeremy Corbyn is a co-lead to a new party with Zara Sultana. There has been zero contact with us about this. We can't join it due to significant differences on the issues of trans and LGBTQ++, the Russia-Ukraine war, net zero and other things. But we are open to an electoral agreement which avoids us both fighting each other for the benefit of Keir Starmer. Mr. Corbyn has had my number for 40 years. Well, I've had your number for a few years as well, George, but I don't think it means the same thing. So the Fedora has spoken. Does anybody want to respond?
I'll jump in. As soon as somebody gets a little bit of reaction within the social media or the media sphere at all, Galloway jumps in, doesn't he? He wants to throw his hat in the ring for everything, doesn't he? He was asking Mick Lynch, who was telling everybody to vote Labour. He was asking Galloway. I think he even asked Audrey White. He asked everybody, "You join our party and I'll follow." Sorry, I can't do the impressions like you can. But it just stinks of opportunism, doesn't it, essentially? They just see the next thing that will gain more traction than what they will ever get, and he wants to be involved in it, you know. Maybe get himself a parliamentary seat again where he desires to be. Maybe create this alliance that will, and it won't, but that he believes will replace the Labour Party as the opposition, the second party of capitalism. That's simple as that.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, as well. I can't speak as someone who's outside of this because I'm inside of it now. But if the words that George Galloway uses would appeal to me if I didn't know anything better about him and about his party, because I was a member. He is an opportunist and he does believe in parliamentary democracy, and he doesn't just believe in it I don't think he really believes that it can change Britain. He uses it for his own self-aggrandizement. And he's not a man to be trusted. Even if his words appeal to people, he is just an opportunist. And he always has been, now that I look back.
Yeah. Well, he's a better showman and a better speaker than the likes of Keir Starmer. But Keir Starmer is a squeaking eunuch who thinks that just because he drapes himself in the old butcher's apron, that makes him look statesmanlike. But Galloway, and again, I've run into him off and on for like 20 years now, since I was a student. He's always had the same act, and people get drawn into it because he's a very powerful speaker. He knows how to turn a phrase. He has something of a sense of humor as well, which most of these people on the left don't have. So people get drawn into that, but you discover the limitations of it very quickly. So, for instance, I saw Galloway the other day talking about why Britain always backs Israel, and he was doing this interview. I think it was that Crispin Flintoff guy who was doing it. And Galloway was saying, all these people, these friends of Israel, they get taken on trips to Israel, and I'm sure get photographed in compromising positions. And what he was saying was basically like that Britain backs Israel because all the politicians have gone over there basically and done sex crimes on camera, like on Epstein's Island, and that's why Britain backed Israel. That's a very shallow analysis, because it wouldn't matter if, like, I don't know, Keir Starmer had been, photographed with a bunch of, so we say, for example, Ukrainian underwear models of the male variety in a seedy hotel in Tel Aviv. He'd still back Israel because, like, first of all, it's not his choice. The British state helped create the Zionist project, helped create Israel, managed it for a while because it serves their interests, and it still serves their interests to this day. And if you've got a platform like Galloway has, you should be explaining that to, like, the working class clearly, not obfuscating and making stuff up and, like, trying to pretend that this is about, just blackmail of dirty, perverted politicians, of which there are plenty, by the way. Paul McCord comes back in and says, Chris, remember Batley?
Yeah, meow.
Yes. Right. So we're going to go just see if there's any more. Man Bear Pig from Scotland says Corbyn was a lazy bugger and should not have betrayed the class and poor with identity politics, bourgeois shite. So nothing to disagree with there. I don't think. Do we have any final thoughts on St. Jeremy of Islington and his new adventure in politics?
I'd like to say something. Yeah, well, but not so much about. I mean, we've said enough about these various opportunists and their plans that are going nowhere. But as something Chris said about Birmingham, now the elite and the liberals like to put us down and be all condescending towards us. But we've got a bin strike in Birmingham at the moment. It's been going on for the best part of 6 months. The place is an absolute tip. There's rats, there's shite everywhere. Now, can you imagine if some of the aristocracy of Labour, the architects and the solicitors of Birmingham have been on strike for 6 months? Would anyone go into the city and notice anything different? They'd have noticed absolutely nothing. And concerning both the Corbyn project and the Workers' Party as well, we have to remember the historical role of social democracy. It was to be a roadblock to socialism. And when they talk about getting social democracy back and getting the concessions, they have to remember what happened before the Second World War. We were in a depression. The whole of the imperialist West was in a major depression. And whatever they tried, they couldn't get out of it until the war started. Yet in the Soviet Union, under Joseph Stalin, their economy was growing exponentially. And when the war finished and a lot of trained soldiers were coming back, working class guys who put their life on the line to defeat fascism, the ruling class were terrified that there might be some kind of working class insurgency or militancy or the rise of the Communist Party. And when people say, oh, if you ask some of these 1945ers, why did we get all those reforms? Who was the person responsible? They'll all say, oh, Clement Attlee. Well, it wasn't Clement Attlee. It was Joseph Stalin. He's the one that got us those reforms. And as that fear of working class insurgency has faded, and particularly after the implosion of the Soviet Union, every single one of them, near enough, has been took away. We've got a shell of an NHS now. That's all we've got left. And yeah, I haven't really got anything to say on the various opportunists. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I think that's actually an excellent point to close out that bit of the discussion there, comrades. I think that's good. And thanks to everybody in the audience who has contributed to the discussion there. I think we'll pivot now to our next topic on the agenda for tonight, which is one of the things we're going to be doing in these live shows is talking about like articles that we've written for our website. And Rick, we're going to be discussing one of your most recent articles, which is called "The Liverpool Parade from Celebration to Panic," about a car ramming incident that took place in Liverpool when the Liverpool fans were out celebrating the winning of the Premier League title. And there's a number of issues that this brought up, which are directly relevant to our, to our project. It being called the Class Consciousness Project. But Rick, do you want to just summarise what you wrote about there, and also tell the audience why you wanted to write about it?
Yeah, no problem at all. I don't think it's much of a secret that I do like me football, and I'm a Liverpool fan, so are my sons. And I was there at the parade. Fortunately, I was much further away from this incident. I was in another part of Liverpool. I had my very young son on my shoulders on one of those little backpacks. Carried them around due to the fact that there was no crowd control at all. We were in a part of very working class Liverpool, just by everybody knows Queen's Drive, going up to West Derby. We were there. And in that whole incident in that area, it was worrying for myself. That's why I wouldn't let my son down off my back, because you had 4 security guards, well, not security guards, 4 crowd controllers for what was several thousand people. My oldest son, he went into town, and he was around that area when the incident happened. And I won't go into the factors of the person that did it or what happened, but I will talk about, as I did in the article, how this was allowed to happen. Let's consider the fact that this is one of the biggest things that's happened in Liverpool in recent years. There was over 2 million people that came to Liverpool, that were in Liverpool and came to see the parade. They came to see the glorious LFC come down in a bus, and it was essentially something that was supposed to be a celebration. And this happened due to the fact that Liverpool Council is a very, very is under investigation for a lot of alleged allegations of corruption. They had, as most capitalists councils, as capitalism does, it hands out contracts and gets and creates capital from it. The contract for the organisation of this event was to a defunct company, who essentially were just fulfilling their duties of what they booked before. So this company no longer existed. So this company, rest in peace, Diogo Jota. Yeah, I saw that, mate. Yeah, and that. Yeah. So this company here was essentially putting the minimum amount with, and you have obviously had a slight bit of policing around to look after the group of the large group of people that was there. And when after this happened, which was allowed to happen due to the fact that the car drove from a long distance to get within a crowd, from an open street to within a crowd, to the point where the incident happened. That within a decently organised event, that car would never have come to that point. Apparently, he followed an ambulance through, but if there was roadblocks to a point, then they would never be allowed to come through. And then after which, there was a large groups of people, millions of people decided to leave Liverpool, and everything collapsed. Nobody could get a train. There was local scousers offering lifts, offering board. There was hotels offering cheaper board. They were never going to give them free. There might have been free. Apologise for anyone that did. But essentially, everything collapsed. There was no real organisation, but you can't do it under capitalism because they've got to do everything for the profit. And once it becomes over the profit margin, it doesn't make sense to them. So they keep the trains as they were. No extra organisation was put in place. So this to me is something that will continue to happen. Not to say that there's going to be some person that has an accident or some person that has a problem. There's always going to be a problem with disorganisation within a system of capitalism, because they will only put profit margins first. So when you're organising, say there's a group of people out there and you've got 5 people there, 5 people to organise 5,000 people, that stops the profit margin from decreasing. And then the whole of the transport network was unreal. There was 1 million people sat outside on Lime Street waiting for the trains. This is unbelievable. Liverpool, people come to Liverpool and they see a great city because they come into the town centre and they see, look at all this that's happening. But it's all for show. It's all for show. There is no real input into Liverpool to increase for the working class. It is created for profit as everything else is. And I found it appalling. It was absolutely appalling. It's heartbreaking for me because I had friends, family in the vicinity of this accident to happen. And like I say, I'm not going to go into the fact of the man. You know, that's for the so-called courts to do. But this whole incident could have been avoided due to good planning. And a planned economy, this would have been organised beautifully. This could have been a beautiful event. But due to the profit margins, due to using a defunct company, due to corrupt councils attempting to sell contracts in a way that gives them more benefits, people were hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Rick. And bringing Chris now for comment.
Yeah, I wasn't there at the celebrations because I'm an Evertonian. But what Rick said is completely true. I don't know what the company is that went defunct, but I did a bit of work for a company called Paramount, doing stewarding, and that was at things like the Matthew Street Festival, the Liverpool Marathon. We used to work at Wigan as well, and I was not in any way trained in crowd control, and I was paid well less than the minimum wage. And I never had to deal with the situation like what happened on Water Street. But there were situations where people just demanded to get through barriers. Mm. And when you're completely untrained to deal with that situation, there's very little you can do.
Yeah. And that.
Sorry, go ahead. No.
Go on, Chris.
No, go ahead, Alex.
Well, I was going to say first of all, thanks to all 102 of you who are watching live. That's very good. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to follow the project on Twitter if you haven't done so already. And you can see on the screen the page from our website there. You can sign up to receive email alerts from the website. So be sure to do that as well if you haven't done so already. But to just draw on what Chris was saying, like a lot of these private companies that supposedly specialize in event management, as Chris says, they use people who are on minimum wage, a lot of whom have zero to very little training, and then toss them into an event like that where you've got hundreds of thousands of people around, all of the entire city centre, basically a sea of people. And it's like the security's done on the cheap by a company that's already gone bankrupt. I mean, the fact that was the way they chose to do it speaks volumes, and it says really a lot about how working class people are viewed, particularly working class sporting events. Like one, there was the mention of Hillsborough earlier, which again was a product of the contempt that the football authorities and the police and the state had for working class football fans, and the fact that they were prepared to lie about them immediately afterwards as well to cover the arse of the police. But it shows that really they still don't take working class people's lives seriously, those that organize these things. Because if you did, then you wouldn't have a bankrupt, dodgy company with poorly trained staff working for minimum wage, planning and organizing an event like this. You'd have it done properly, and you'd actually properly shut down the city centre, and you'd stop cars going through it, and you'd set up proper diversions, and you'd have extra trains put on, and you'd have facility for people to stay overnight if they got stuck there. None of that ever gets done, because unless it can turn a profit somewhere in the works, no one's interested in doing that. Ian, did you have any comment or?
Yeah, I'd just like to say I concur 100% with Rick's article. I think it's absolutely spot on, and it just seems to me that this planning thing. I mean, why can't the public agencies be working together, the police and have some proper kind of stewards and not some Mickey Mouse private company? Well, as Chris said, probably half of them wouldn't have got no training in crowd control or anything like that. But the one thing that I know, because I know some people who went over there who took children over, and they came over from this side of the water, and afterwards, about 5 o'clock, they wanted to go back, and there was no. This was before that incident happened. They couldn't get on trains. The buses weren't running, or they weren't stopping, and the ferry would be no good either, because at the moment it's only going to Seacombe, and that's the back or beyond. No one wants to go there. So they were. What? I mean, there's no train station there, and if you don't know where you're going, you wouldn't know where you were. There really is nothing there. There's a nice little Greasy Spoon cafe. That's about it. But there you go. No, but they took hours and hours and hours to manage to get across on the train, get back over to the Wirral. Never mind where you're going. I mean, you would have thought they could have planned to have the transport sorted out. It just beggars belief, knowing there's going to be over 1 million people in Liverpool, and a massive chunk of a few 100,000 or more is going to be coming from over on the Wirral side, and they've got to get back home. And it's just, a total indictment of the whole of the public services and the planning, whatever level and whatever body we're talking about. The whole of them collectively should have been organising this. And never mind. Without talking about the incident itself, which is appalling, I just wonder how the hell that fella managed to get a car to where he did. But I don't know. I'm not going to speak about that because I don't know. But yeah, if there's ever a case for a planned economy and a properly planned society, this makes the case perfectly.
Yeah, good points, Ian. Thanks. Back to Chris.
Just to back up what Rick and what Ian have said, there's a big problem in Liverpool, is that the people who run it basically just try and sell it all the time, literally and metaphorically. It's promoted as like a big place that people want to come and visit. So most of the investment into Liverpool comes to try and to improve things for temporary visitors, and it never comes down to actually looking after the people who live in Liverpool. And where I live, Bootle, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, is right next to Liverpool. And we've got this other problem in Liverpool or in Merseyside, where our local media, it always promotes this myth of community and of how people come together when there's a tragedy. And real class consciousness shouldn't be coming together after a tragedy. It should be coming together before one happens. It should realise why tragedies happen and how we can prevent them. So Ian was exactly right, saying this is why we need planned economics, and it's why we need proper town planning and organisation. And everyone needs to realise that we have to fight against our local representatives, because they don't believe that. Especially in Liverpool, all they want to do is market the city. They're like used car salesmen, but the used city salesmen. They just want to get as much money out of it as they can. And it never, ever benefits people from outside of the city centre, never mind the rest of Liverpool. And it doesn't benefit places like Huyton or Bootle or Birkenhead.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, Chris, which is that, and it's the same everywhere you go across the country, which is like Manchester, same bit, so wretched business model, basically turn the city into a tourist trap and just try and base the whole local economy on corporate conferences, stuff like that. And then same in Liverpool, same in like Glasgow, where I am, or Edinburgh down the road. Everything's just built around like tourism and like special events, etc. There's no thought given to trying to like build up an area rebuild industry or anything like that. Bring back Chris, and then I'll throw over to Rick for final comment on this.
Yeah, just one small thing. The other thing that Liverpool is known for worldwide is the Beatles. And in my opinion, Cast and Space are both better than the Beatles.
Oof. Chris Hawes in there with the controversial points. That's going to be the thing that will get us banned off YouTube. Chris telling everybody that John Power and Tommy Scott are better than John Lennon. Rick, I will throw this live hand grenade to you, and now you can handle it.
I'm not dealing with that little bit there, to be perfectly honest. I'm not dealing with that. I'm not dealing with that. I'll deal with the other point that Chris made, which I thought was great, where people talk about the unity, the community aspect of Liverpool, where everyone comes together in times of crisis, and that is true, and that is great. It is great, but it is seen as such a good thing because day in, day out, it doesn't happen. Essentially, in I'm guessing in every city, because every town, where people only come together within a crisis. But we should be together all the time. We should be working as a class to look after ourselves, look after each other. Everybody should know by now. And we're talking about Liverpool. Everybody should know by now that we've had a Labour council for 15 years. Previous to that, we had the Lib Dems, and they don't look after us. They make mild little changes, and right now, councils are only there to implement cuts. So we shouldn't wait for governmental bodies to change and help us. You know what I mean? We shouldn't wait to report something to your local MP to help to say, listen, this is happening here. Can you help us? He will dedicate himself to a lot of paperwork and say, right, what can I do with said amount of money? Which is, it's unbelievable. So this community spirit that comes in a crisis, we should essentially gather a siege mentality. And I don't mean Liverpool, I mean everywhere. I mean the whole working class should gather a siege mentality against the ruling class, because all they will ever do is try to profit from us. And Liverpool, like going back to Liverpool and Manchester as well, they create a city centre, which is good for tourists. They create a university so they can profit from ologies. They can take all these poor students to come in and put them in debt for the rest of their lives, and then remove all 4-bedroom houses so no one can get one. And I just saw in the comments that Liverpool saw off an arms fair. Just to add to that, there was an arms fair in Liverpool 4 to 5 years ago, and the council said we will create a local council body to talk about issues like this. But they allowed the arms fair to go through. And why was that? Because the amount of money that these companies bring in, it is an event, a place that we hold events, which is strangely owned. It's a council building, but it has private investors as such. But all profit will come into the city, and they would hold flipping. I'm gonna watch what I say, but they will hold the worst fascists in the world in there if they had put 500 grand in the city. They will do all that. It's as simple as that. So the idea of a siege mentality against the ruling class, because we are the working class, we are the proletariat. We need to develop, and this is what we're all about, is to give a class consciousness to every single topic, and we need to develop that. We need to create that, and we need to make sure that when we get together in these great community organisations, when we stand up against something that's happened, we need to stand up before it happens. We need to be there, and we need to be ready, because as the working class, we are used by the ruling class, and we forever will be.
Right. Fair. Good comment on that, Rick. Final point goes to Ian.
Yeah, I'd like to bring the two topics together, because we've just heard now from Rick and from all the contributions how we desperately need a properly planned society. But what we're getting everything comes down to the bottom line of money and profits in command, and therefore we get nothing. The working class are treated with contempt. Liverpool wants to bring in tourists by the thousand. Liverpool win the league, 1 million turn up, and what do? They don't give a toss, do they? They leave people stranded. They let a guy who wasn't fit to drive, apparently, drive and badly injure people. We need joined up thinking. And if you think that Jeremy Corbyn's social democracy is going to do anything about addressing the problem of capitalism and profits in command, and doing anything about bringing in proper local planning nationally, making sure that events like this are safe, so footy fans can go and can celebrate the team's win without risking being run over by someone who's driving a car when they're not fit to, or then after the event being stranded where they can't get back home. And a lot of them had kids. They couldn't take them to Mackey's like you would do if you missed your train, because everywhere was absolutely solid. You couldn't go and have a pint because you couldn't get in any pubs. Everything was rammed because people were trapped. Yeah, I just think we need to bring the two together because we desperately need change. And Corbyn's new little enterprise is not that change. It's more liberalism, it's more capitalism, and it might have a bit of a compassionate edge, but it's not what we need. It's another dead end.
Yeah.
Well, mate.
Good point, Ian. We'll just read a couple of comments out here before we bring this to a close. Jerry says, you think our loads mucked in to help the floods in the DPRK? Yes, including Kim Jong-un himself, who was there on a raft, being driving around in the water. Can't see Keir Starmer doing that. He'd do a pre-prepared shot in his wellies in a studio in High Wycombe or something. Was surrounded by CGI water. Lee Hinchliffe, Comrade Lee, says South Yorkshire Police equals utter bastards. Comment stands for itself. Right, so we have 159 of you watching. So thanks to everybody who's tuned in. That's very good considering we haven't done one of these for a while. As I said earlier, be sure to follow us on X. Subscribe to the website, the classconsciousnessproject.blog. You can find details on there, but sign up for email alerts for our new articles. If you can find us on Telegram as well, follow us on that. And this is going to be the first of what we hope will be like monthly broadcasts, a monthly live stream. And we're going to be coming to you with like topics that we've covered and also taking your questions as well. And our thanks to everybody who has contributed to a good discussion tonight. Those who have agreed with us and those who have disagreed with us. In fact, if you disagree, be sure to tune in for next time, especially if you're a Beatles fan. We will just ask Chris questions about cast songs for an hour. Right. That's it from us. I'll throw to the comrades to say farewell to the audience and any final words you want to say, starting with Chris.
All right. Thanks for listening, and I appreciate all you being here. And like Rick said, people who disagree with us are more than welcome back, because eventually you will agree with us. Not just about the Beatles and cast.
There's a sandstorm blowing in my head, as a man once sang. Rick, final word.
Thanks to see you all. It's been a long time since we've done this. We've had a few changes in the project. We've had a few changes to how we are developing. Soon enough, we're going to be putting out a paper, and there's going to be a few recorded videos as well. If everyone saw my toxic masculinity article, we will be talking about that with another comrade, plus others from Ian and Chris. But we're very thankful. We hope we do what we plan to do is give everybody a class analysis of every topic that is available. Yeah,
thanks, Rick. Ian?
Yeah, thanks to everyone that came to listen to us. Hopefully you got something out of it. And for anyone who's a bit miffed about the Beatles, I'm on your side because I'm a Beatles fan too.
Right. The great debate, Chris versus Ian. Tune in next time for this one. Right. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in. And we will be back again with you very soon. And as I said, be sure to follow us on all the relevant channels. Your support tonight is much appreciated. And we aim to restore the knowledge that our class has lost of itself. Because one of the big projects that the ruling class have had over the course of our lifetimes has been to remove the knowledge of our class as a class. we're taught to regard ourselves as a bunch of individuals who aren't linked together. And what we aim to do is to restore the knowledge that used to be there in our class, that we're not just the people who slave away for a pittance in various different industries, that we are linked together by the fact that we all have to sell our labor. This is what not only makes us people who have to fight the system, it also makes us those who will, in the end, overcome it, overthrow it, and rebuild these lands of ours anew under a planned economy on the road to socialism. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you again next time.